Hi, I'm Jim Paxon. Today on Arizona Wildlife Views, it's lions and snakes and tortoises. Oh my! All that and more coming up right now.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Welcome to Arizona Wildlife Views. The Sonoran Desert is home to some pretty interesting critters. We begin our show tonight in search of one of its more reclusive residents, the desert tortoise.
Sonoran desert summers are bone dry and brittle, but then the greening begins. Monsoon rains refresh and revive, and the desert comes alive with people. People in search of desert tortoises that are finally on the move.
Absolutely. As soon as the monsoons hit, tortoises start moving like crazy.
It's prime time for desert tortoises to find the food and water they'll need to make it through the winter. It's also a golden opportunity for researchers like game and fish biologist Audrey Owens.
The Sonoran desert tortoise is really understudied. We don't know a whole lot about it, and that's pretty much by the virtue of the fact that they're so difficult to find. You know, they live in this habitat, and it's a really complex habitat. You've got boulders everywhere, and they don't make themselves known. They spend 90% of their lives underground in burrows. We're out here studying the juveniles, which is an age class that we really know little about.
But that's about to change. Game and Fish is conducting a first-of-its-kind survey of juvenile tortoises like this one. A radio transmitter is attached to its shell so researchers can track its movements.
And so we're looking at microhabitat use, we're looking at survival, we're looking at movement and home range.
Well, I'm Justin.
I'm Alan.
We're interns for the Game and Fish Turtles project, and we basically just help Audrey and Christina come out and radio track the juvenile tortoises here. Once we find them, we take GPS coordinates, elevation 721, and then data on their habitat, and Alan can tell you about that.
Yeah, every time we encounter a tortoise, we take weather info and basically what the tortoise is doing and what's around them. We try to get as much information as we can at each encounter.
With the juveniles, we had no idea that one so small would move so far.
Christina Jones is the Turtles Project coordinator. She says one juvenile tortoise surprised everyone by moving 3 kilometers in 34 days.
Which is a pretty big haul for a tortoise that was only 132 millimeters. We thought that it was when they reached a subadult stage, which is about 180 millimeters, that's when they made their big movements. But now we're learning, we've had 2 of them that made pretty big movements just over a short period of time. And that's really exciting to know that it's the little guys that are making the moves to find a different place to occupy.
So far, researchers are radio tracking 14 juvenile tortoises thanks to the sharp eyes of hard-working volunteers.
They are critical. Without the volunteers, I think we would be tracking 7 tortoises instead of 14 with the juveniles, and also they find the adults.
And I just want to first welcome you guys out here and thank you all for waking up before the crack of dawn to join us on our first survey of the year. So we've been monitoring the population here since 1991. That's when we marked our first tortoise.
As of 2013, the Arizona Game and Fish Department has marked about 200 adult tortoises at this long-term study site located northeast of Phoenix.
And so we've gleaned a lot of information from the research that's been going on. The survival of adult tortoises is pretty high, about 97%. We've done research on the reproductive ecology of female tortoises. So take a look at this and get your search image. Again, you're not looking for movement because the adults tend to freeze when they see you. So we're looking for active tortoises. We're also looking for inactive tortoises. Anybody have any questions?
After the briefing, volunteers go to work.
So the majority of the tortoises that we come across are marked, but just about every year we come across at least one adult tortoise that's never been marked.
A volunteer discovers the first tortoise hiding out in a burrow that gets a lot of use.
It's burrow number 387, and that soil burrow has been used by, at least in the last 10 years, it's been used by 8 different animals that I'm aware of.
Christina goes in after it. It takes a little bit of work, but she finally manages to slide the tortoise out of its burrow.
It is our first tortoise of the day. It's tortoise number 611. She's previously marked. We encounter her at least once up to 3 times a year.
The first time she was captured, researchers gave her an ID number and filed notches into her shell. It's a code based on the marginal scutes of a tortoise shell that represent different numbers. By adding the numbers of the scutes that are notched, you get the tortoise's ID number, in this case, 611.
It is a female tortoise. I don't know how long she's been in the study, but I'm going to guess that she was probably marked sometime in the last 12 years.
Christina places 611 on a can, so she can't walk off while she's being processed.
The gular scutes here underneath the chin are what they use for fighting each other.
Nearby,
And
Audrey
both males
does the
and
same
females are
with
territorial.
tortoise number 3.
When we find a tortoise, we collect information on the habitats surrounding that tortoise. We also collect weather information, just basic temperature and humidity, wind speed, cloud cover. And with that, we are hoping to be better informed on when tortoises are most active.
And look at this, she's almost too big for my calipers.
They also record a variety of other information about the tortoise, including its weight and size.
283. And then we're going to do a health check on her real quick.
Eyes, bright.
Eyes are bright. Eyelids are normal.
I always look at their nostrils and I see if there's any exudate or snot, if you will, or if they're clear. And if they are clear and if she has smooth breathing, then we can be fairly certain that she is not exhibiting any clinical signs of upper respiratory tract disease, which is not something that we have had documented at this site before.
To minimize the chance of spreading disease from tortoise to tortoise, researchers wear latex gloves and disinfect all instruments that come in contact with the tortoise before moving on to the next one. As the morning progresses, the search continues. Danielle Shorts, an ASU biology student, is enjoying her volunteer experience.
Yeah, I really want to work in conservation, so this was a really nice opportunity to kind of see what other people do in the same field. It was kind of nice to see that they were doing something like this, and I thought, well, this is a chance to see a tortoise out here in the desert, and thought it would be pretty cool.
I'll go on the left side if you want to go on the right side. Okay. I love that my job is basically an adventure. I mean, I come out here and I never know what I'm going to see.
Rattlesnakes, Gila monsters, javelina, and even mountain lion tracks are all quite common. But an unmarked tortoise is the best find of all.
Since this is a new one, we should probably take a picture.
This will be tortoise number 673. Christina files the corresponding notches and applies a coat of clear epoxy over an ID number that's written on the shell.
I just marked a new adult tortoise on this site. And we come across maybe 1 or 2 a year, but as I mentioned, we've got 195 tortoises marked here. And so that's really exciting to know that the amount of time we spend out here and we're still finding animals that are new to us.
It's interesting to be able to see the same wild animals, 2-3 times a week. It's been a lot of fun. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the best job, best job I've had.
And so what we're doing now is reattaching the antenna of the transmitter here, just putting another dab of epoxy on top.
After some minor repairs, this young tortoise joins the other juveniles that are making their monsoon moves. They just might be leading researchers to new discoveries that will help protect and conserve the Sonoran desert tortoise.
Anytime you walk outside and you think, man, this is a shorts and t-shirt day, that's a great day for rattlesnakes, Gila monsters, and a variety of other things that you may or may not want to encounter on your hike. What most people don't realize, if they spend a lot of time outdoors hiking or hunting or whatever, that they have walked literally within inches probably of these animals many, many times and never had a negative encounter. And that's really where a lot of the confusion comes from. People feel like these things are out to get them and that they're just waiting for any opportunity to pounce upon the unsuspected hiker or hunter. when in reality these animals go through great lengths to avoid conflicts with human beings. So just like you would hide from any potential danger, these animals do the same thing, and they are defensive, not aggressive. They don't go looking for trouble, but if trouble finds them, they're happy to defend themselves. One of the things that we hear very commonly, people are out hiking and they encounter a rattlesnake on the trail, and they become very frustrated because they don't feel that they can pass this animal. Rattlesnakes strike roughly half to 3/4 their body distance. And so by giving a rattlesnake, even a 6-foot rattlesnake, a modest area, you can safely move around one without any problem. Matter of fact, if you encounter a rattlesnake on the trail, the answer to it is don't try to move it out, don't try to scare it off by throwing rocks at it. The answer is to just move around it, leave it alone. And in fact, what often happens is people encounter one of these snakes and it coils up and it rattles and it takes a defensive position because it perceives itself in danger. As long as you hover close to that animal is going to stay defensive and it's going to hold its ground. Oftentimes, if people would just take 2 large steps backwards or give it a 20 or 30 foot area of clearance, that animal will quickly retreat to the nearest shelter for its own protection because it's very, very, very frightened of you. So give these animals a little distance. Don't try to capture them. Don't try to kill them. Leave them be. They are a big part of our natural environment. They're an important part of our natural environment. They belong out there. So really, 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 when you look at it, even though there's a lot of these things out there, and many of these things are venomous, very few of them are dangerously venomous. And when you look at statistics, you're far more likely to die by slipping in the bathtub or getting struck by lightning than you are to die from a venomous snake bite in Arizona. So when it really comes down to it, these animals are venomous to acquire their prey, not to kill you, your pets, or your children, and they go through great lengths to avoid conflicts with human beings. They really try to stay out of our way.
Cougar, puma, catamount, or panther. Call them what you will. Mountain lions are the 2nd largest cat native to North America and the 4th largest cat in the world. The mountain lion occurs only in the Western Hemisphere and has one of the most extensive ranges of any land mammal. Here in Arizona, mountain lions can be found in every habitat type. The abundance of mountain lions in Arizona corresponds with the distribution and abundance of its major prey species, deer. Mountain lions are not an endangered, threatened, or even a sensitive species in Arizona, or for that matter, even in North America, with the exception of a small population in Florida. In fact, for a large predator, they're relatively abundant in Arizona. Mountain lions are secretive, shy, and elusive animals that prefer to remain hidden. They blend in extremely well with their surroundings. The very attributes that make them apex predators also make studying these big cats very difficult. While we may not see them very often, if you spend any time in the wildlands, they've seen you. Brian Jansen is studying mountain lion populations in southwestern Arizona. His study area encompasses almost 10,000 square miles.
It goes roughly from the Colorado River border at I-10, east to Phoenix, south to Gila Bend, and then approximately south towards the Mexico border, and then returns to Yuma and follows the Colorado rivers. Kofa National Wildlife Refuge is about 800 square miles, and it is positioned between I-10 and Interstate 8, roughly around Quartzsite, Arizona. So that's our primary site where our most intense mountain lion study is occurring. Adult male mountain lions down here in the low Sonoran Desert have home ranges that approach 1,000 square miles. And adult females have home ranges that are on the order of 100, 200 square miles. That's in contrast to what we find in an area that has a higher density of prey like the North Kaibab Plateau. The North Kaibab Plateau, adult male mountain lions might have a home range of 200 square miles, and a female home range might be on the order of 50 square miles.
The secretive nature of the mountain lion also makes it difficult to determine just how many lions are out there. While the current statewide mountain lion population is estimated to be between 2,500 and 3,000 animals, the population is considered to be robust and growing.
So January 31st, 2012, in the Kofa Refuge, we knew that there were 5 individuals in the area. I suspected there might be 1 or 2 more, but for the Kofa Refuge, for this time period, 5 to 7 individuals is a pretty honest, fair answer from doing a lot of field work.
Before you can study mountain lions, you have to catch them. To catch them, Brian uses 2 techniques.
We scent trail them with trained hound dogs. That method is effective in certain conditions. Down here in the low desert, where it's hot and dry, it's not particularly effective. However, we use them to recapture lions when necessary. Our primary method that is very effective in these low desert conditions is the foot snare. I will look for places in these mountain ranges down here that lions use. They have very subtle trails, but with a lot of searching, you can find the trails and set foot snares on the trails, and then it becomes a long duration of checking the traps frequently, every day, pretty much for weeks on end. One way that we use to identify routes that mountain lions use or specific trails is the trail camera. We have 30 or 40 trail cameras placed throughout the mountains that we use to not only identify mountain lions that don't have a collar, so that we know there is one in the area, but we also use them to evaluate particular routes. We know that they'll go to water sources or other places, but what I need to know is more specific. Will they pass by this rock, this bush, or do they use this trail more frequently than another trail? So we use the trail cameras to identify those places. I've been putting trail cameras on the snare sites to record the behavior of mountain lions in the trap. For years, I thought when that snare would go off, the mountain lion would jump and run around. What I thought was going on couldn't be farther from the truth. Most mountain lions that I've recorded, they fail to recognize that they're even caught. The trap springs and tightens on their leg, and they go about their business like nothing's happened. They have no idea what happened. I've got them laying down, sleeping in the snare, but they are not struggling. When you approach a mountain lion, they'll struggle to get away because they naturally want to get away from humans. And so in that case, I try to dart them quickly because I don't like to see them struggling.
Once the lion has been sedated, a radio collar is attached, and the animal is given the once-over. Finally, the snare is removed, and the animal is monitored while it rouses out of its drug-induced nap. Mountain lions typically hunt at night or during dawn and dusk, although they can be active during the day. These powerful animals are specialized top predators that hunt by stealth and ambush.
So what do mountain lions eat out here in the wild? Well, they eat large prey. Here, they are eating desert bighorn sheep and desert mule deer. However, they're also naturally eating coyotes. We've got female lions that just eat coyotes, like candy, as fast as they can. They also kill bobcats, badgers. I assume they are eating jackrabbits and cottontails too. Those are very difficult to detect in terms of kill sites.
One of the myths surrounding mountain lions is that they prefer steep, rugged terrain and high vantage points.
Well, one of the really cool things that we're learning in this study is that's really not true. It's an artifact of where lions had been studied in years past. Well, we've got lions down here that use the steepest, most rugged terrain that's in the state of Arizona, the Kofa Mountains. So we've got lions that use those areas. We've also got lions that use open environment, creosote flats. Mountain lions are killing mule deer in these creosote flats with hardly any vegetation. It's not steep and rugged by anyone's imagination. We've got the gamut right here in our regional study area.
Another myth is that predators take only the young, the weak, the sick, or the old. It's just not so. Most predators are opportunistic hunters, meaning they'll take whatever crosses their path first. A mountain lion is fully capable of taking a grown and healthy adult mule deer buck or a bighorn sheep ram. And yes, mountain lions, being opportunistic predators, can and do take small dogs, cats, and even livestock, especially in the urban wildland fringe areas. As long as we're busting myths, more fiction that needs to be shattered is that predators in general, and mountain lions specifically, are out there lurking, ready to kill every day. It just simply isn't so.
In previous studies, mountain lions generally kill a large prey animal like a deer-sized animal on the order of 1 per 7 days, 1 per 10 days. Down here in the low Sonoran Desert, we've got lions killing a deer from, kills a deer and then it starts to hunt and kills another deer in 3 days. We've had them go something like 21 to 28 days between known large kill sites.
Loss of habitat from human development represents the single largest threat to the conservation of mountain lions in Arizona. Lions are secretive animals. Sightings of these elusive animals are typically rare. However, as we move further and further into optimal lion habitat, encounters with mountain lions have become much more common. Life is tough out there for most wildlife. Mountain lions and humans, we can coexist. It's up to us to do our part by being aware of their presence and needs and by working to keep wildlife wild.
That's pretty cool.
She appreciates the little things in life, like the 9-inch green sunfish she caught at Canyon Lake. It wasn't a huge fish, but it was a state record. This is Kristen Kyle's fish story.
I guess that, it just affirms my love of small fish, to catch the biggest small fish. So, 9 inches is a very respectable size for that fish. So, should be fun to see, maybe, show people that small fish are noteworthy as well. You can get out anytime and, well, there you go. You can get out anytime and catch something record, literally. So I hope, the record stands for a little bit just so I can, relish in the glory, but, go out and get a small fish. They can be pretty big. Think of the smallmouth bass, these really cool fish that you're passing up. There we go. They put up a great fight. Ounce for ounce, they kick a trout's butt. Even as you've seen today, smallmouth, it's an understatement. Getting after just the little fish that are plentiful, not everybody who fly fishes in general are all about trout. He's definitely mixed. So, it's more fun to diversify your species, but I've really found a home kind of on small streams. It's just about the little things in life, really.
Well, that's our show for tonight. If you'd like more information, go to our website at azgfd.gov. For all the fine folks at Arizona Game and Fish, I'm Jim Paxon. We'll see you next time.